Hi guys, how are you doing? Are you well? Tonight is another Saturday night. I'm staying at home obviously because my wife's gone off to work, my kids are watching TV, and I've got nothing better to do than recording another video for you guys. And in this video I'm going to talk about a phenomenon that I realize is currently ongoing on YouTube, and namely other English teachers. Well, I'm not really a teacher in the common sense of the word, I consider myself being rather a mentor, a coach, a fluency coach, not a teacher, but basically there are plenty of English teachers out there publishing videos about commonly made English mistakes, and there's loads of them. Common English errors, common English mistakes, mistakes this, mistakes that. What on earth is going on? Everyone is so focused on mistakes. This is totally wrong focus, for Christ's sakes. Of course, make no mistake about it. I'm not saying that we have to speak incorrectly. I've never said that, and some people get all my articles and videos wrong where I'm saying that you have to ignore your mistakes. You have to embrace the concept of making mistakes, I'm never saying you have to speak erroneously. You have to make mistakes consciously and speak with mistakes and speak incorrectly. I've never said that. What I'm saying is you have to learn phrases, focus on phrase acquisition, right? But how you join them together is largely dependent on yourself. It's up to you. Say, for instance, you have a 5-minute long conversation and you use, let's say for argument's sake, 20 or 30 phrases during those 5 minutes. But in between, how you link those phrases together, you might be making a mistake here or there, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, for as long as, by and large, you're getting the main storyline correctly. Use those phrases as key phrases, as anchor phrases to create your whole conversation around, And then over time, as you acquire more and more and more correct speech patterns, I refer to all these phrases and idiomatic expressions as speech patterns, right? The more you acquire of them, the fewer the gaps are going to be in your conversation, and then eventually at some point down the line you'll be capable of speaking completely fluently and completely correctly, because your entire conversation is obviously going to contain of speech patterns you would have been learning previously, But for as long as you get the main storyline right, for as long as you get 70 to 80% of everything correctly, you shouldn't be losing your sleep over those relatively few mistakes, But what those teachers are saying is they're actually drawing people's attention. They are shifting people's focus onto mistakes. And all of a sudden mistakes as such become the central focus of both parties, teachers and students alike, and that everyone has the mindset of how to make sure that I don't make these mistakes. And what we can learn next, let's learn about some mistakes. So, dear students, please make sure not to make these mistakes. And obviously, what happens when someone tells you not to do this? It's nagging at you, It's the same thing as someone tells you not to think of the pink elephant, right? Okay, guys, please don't think of the pink elephant. What you're doing, you're thinking of the pink elephant, Same thing applies here. Don't make this mistake. Don't think about the mistake. Obviously, next thing you know, all you can think of is that mistake, I don't know why everyone's focus is so much on the mistakes, because obviously it's something, especially native speakers, right? 90% of those people are native speakers. To be honest with you, I haven't even come across a foreign English speaker like me. I'm not bragging about my skills or anything or my expertise. I'm just stating the obvious, From what I could see, all those videos were recorded by native speakers, and as we all know, obviously native speakers are very comfortable speaking in English. And they, especially if they've been academically educated, their language is very rich. and they can speak using very, very sophisticated means of expression, and they would be perfect at spotting very tiny mistakes in your speech. And next thing you know is they point them out to you, and then you start freaking out over it, and then that's when the perfectionism is born, and the focus is shifted onto perfection, onto mistakes as such, whereas in reality, you should be actually just focusing on getting the speech patterns right, focus on what you can say. Actually, you may want to check out this article, right? Focus on what you can say instead of what you can't. Obviously, I'm going to repeat it once more. I'm not saying that you have to speak incorrectly. I'm not saying it's fine to imprint incorrect speech patterns into your head. Of course it's not. We have to speak correctly, because even though mistakes are natural, everything is in nature is flawed, yet at the same time, if everything was totally flawed, nothing would exist in nature. Any structure as such actually follows some principles, some systems, some correct pattern, you know what I mean? And those relatively few flaws, even though they exist, they don't make that structure what it is, you know what I mean? They just exist because everything, as I said, in nature is flawed, but what I'm saying is I'm struggling a little bit here to actually get the message across and to illustrate the concept. What I'm saying is, if there was, say for instance, more than 50% of flaws in any structure, like a tree, right? A tree might have a crooked branch or whatever, but if the tree was totally wrong, if all the branches were growing in all the wrong directions and they would be thicker than the actual stem, then the tree would fall down and it would topple. The tree wouldn't be able to exist. So therefore, the conclusion is, even though everything is flawed, even diamond structure has some imperfections in it, by and large, 90% of it is going to be correct to be actually able to exist, because if it's too imperfect, it wouldn't be able to exist. The atomic structure would crumble and the diamond would disintegrate, so to speak. I'm just speaking figuratively, but the same goes with our language. Obviously, there is a certain level of mistakes we can accept, especially in the beginning learning stage, but as we progress down the line, obviously we will eradicate most of those mistakes. But I'm actually drifting out of the subject, which I'm notorious of, but guys, I'm quite sure that you forgive me for that, because by now you know what I am, what I'm like, what these videos are like, so you can expect a lengthy monologue now. Let me go back to the initial subject. Yes, mistakes, focus, that's what it's all about. It's all about the actual focus. Actually, I was repeating the fact that I've never said that it's fine to make mistakes and keep making those mistakes. My point is, and this is it, this is the bottom line, right? Speak correctly, learn correct speech patterns, but if you make those mistakes, don't freak out over them, right? And don't focus on them. Forget about the actual word mistake. For Christ's sakes, what's a mistake? Mistake is just lack of... No, actually, it's not lack of anything. Mistake is just something that is not following a normal pattern. You say certain things in English a certain way, but if you say something wrong, you're in the minority, so to speak. You, having said those exact words this wrong way, you and maybe only a couple more people on the whole planet, or maybe not a couple of people, but you get the gist, right? 100 people on the planet could be saying that thing that way, which makes you a minority, and that makes it a mistake. If millions of people on the planet start speaking that way, it's not considered a mistake anymore. That's what it's all about. It's not about good or bad or any of those philosophical concepts. It's only a matter of frequency, basically. That's what it is, the more prevalent the mistake becomes, over time it might be actually adopted and become normal part of our language, you know. So that's what it's all about. You are saying something that people don't normally say, and it's up to yourself to spot those mistakes, learn from them, and start speaking correctly. But you cannot avoid those mistakes. But the focus, it's all about focus. Well, at the same time, you realize that you're making mistakes, you have to deal with them, so on and so forth. Your main focus has to be on what you can say and what you're saying, and on your spoken English practice and all those related things, you know. Mistakes is not your focus. But what those teachers are achieving on YouTube by publishing hundreds of those videos, they're literally cranking them out on a daily basis, you know, is the drawing people's attention onto the fact that these are the mistakes, they're dreadful, they have to be eradicated, and God forbid you make this mistake, that mistake, and and there are actually specific videos dedicated to specific nationalities. Say, for instance, if you're a Spanish person, these are the top 10 mistakes Spanish people make, and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. I'd say it's all a total bullshit, you know what I mean? You don't need to know that. What you need to know instead is how to say things correctly and be focused on what you can say. Shift your focus from the negative side onto the positive side. That's what it's all about. And that's the story for today, my dear friends. And thanks for watching. And in case you have any comments to make, please post them in the comments section below. Thanks, guys, for watching, and see you soon again. Bye-bye.